Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we are going to be discussing the Ultimatum, South Africa Now. I know it's been probably a couple of weeks since the first batch of episodes came out, our episodes, of course, because the show's been out for a while, but you probably won't be having to wait too much longer for the rest of the episodes. I have watched all the show, like every show now, so you should be probably getting all of the episodes by the end of this week. So you'll have them all. But of course, we're going to be doing 3 episodes per, so we are going to be covering episodes 4 to 6, and then we'll do 7, 8, 9 in one, and then the reunion will be its own episode. So we should have that done by, I believe we should, fingers crossed, by the end of the week. But without further ado, we're not doing any hot goss. There's nothing else going on, no ads, nothing. We're just focusing on the show. So let's start with the Ultimatum, South Africa, Season 1, Episode 4, Jealousy and Suspicion. So we are with Kenya and Isaac, and they are playing Truth or Dare. And she starts giving him a lap dance. So they're definitely like, having some fun. It's all good. And then we're with Genesis and Courtney. And he asks Courtney, are you attracted to me? Because clearly, like, they're not really vibing maybe in the same way that maybe the others are. And they, I think and also I think she's very closed off with him. And I don't know exactly why the boundaries are up so high, why the walls are up so high. It might be that she just doesn't know him, enough to be completely vulnerable with him. Or there could be something in her past that keeps her very closed. But I think that's where it's stemming from for him. Like, are you into me? Do you, see us being proper trial husband and wife in this? And she does say that, yes, she finds him attractive, but for her, it's just because of, like, her walls are so up high that she just doesn't feel comfortable fully being in that. This kind of takes her time. She has to build the trust. She's clearly the kind of person that's not like, I just give you trust right off the bat, you need to earn it. So Lindley, we see he's cooking, and he asks, how do you like, can't read my handwriting, guys, so I can't remember what he said to her, but Tabby does say, like, it is a difference between Lindley and Genesis in the sense of Lindley seems to be the kind of guy who takes care of himself. He's cooking for himself. He's cleaning after himself. Whereas with Genesis, he seems to be kind of like a man baby a little bit, and isn't, like, attentive in the same way as Lindley. I mean, I don't know Genesis' living situation, if he lives on his own, with family, whatever. But Lindley, we know, lives alone, because that's how him and Caesar met. They were neighbors. So I think he does live alone. So he clearly has to be self-sufficient. So when you are with a person who is self-sufficient, then that can translate in how it is in a relationship. So I've seen that too in my relationships. When you see the difference between someone who is self-sufficient versus someone who isn't, it definitely, you end up with a Genesis if they're not really self-sufficient, and you may end up with a Lindley if they are. So it's, yeah. But he says, like, he's falling for her already. Now, I don't like, okay. I like Lindley. I've already said, like, physically, he's the kind of type I'd go for. But the fact that he seems to move so quickly in his feelings, it's like, okay, sir, calm down. Because you've issued an ultimatum to a woman you've only been with for 6 months. And after we're like, what, a week, if that, into this experiment in the trial marriages, and you're already saying you're falling in love with her? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I have been with men who, quote unquote, say they're falling in love. Me, if that was me and he's telling me, or he's expressing he's falling for me, I would be like, no, you're not. Like, I just want to trust. I know some men can move quickly like that, but I mean, no. Then we got Aiden and Lebo coming over for Bry, right? For sure, I said that correctly. Bry, which is basically like barbecue. They're coming for that. So Aiden says him and Lebo have become good friends and more like roommates, but they're not, it's not like that romantic sense, or they're trying to build upon that. I think even though Lebo has issued the ultimatum, she's all about Nola. And then with Aiden and Courtney, they seem, even though obviously Courtney's issued, she is, these are two, well, I'm going to say three. These are three people in their respective relationships. Obviously, Aiden, Courtney, and theirs, and Lebo on her own and hers. We'll get to it. Trust me. But these are three people who came into this, even though issuing, very much are doing it in dedication to their relationship and wanting to make it work. They aren't necessarily trying to leave, I don't think. So I think like it's very interesting to kind of see the three of them very much not in this in the same way, or maybe just someone incapable of being in it in the same way as maybe the others are for their own reasons. Tabby is like the connection with Linda. It's great. You know, he does all the things. And this was, she said, one of the, they mentioned like this was actually the default choice, Tabby and Linda. They were stuck with each other because there was no one else. And it seems to have become a pretty strong connection between the two of them. But of course, fear is still there to potentially lose Genesis for her. And Lebo was like, it definitely seems that Tabby has fallen in love with Linda, which again, I just don't understand how you fall in love this quickly with anybody. Anyways, then we find out that Genesis has cheated before, right? It was Genesis. I think it was Genesis, because I was actually confused here only because of what we know. Thinking that it might have been Nola, but I think it was Genesis. That Genesis has cheated before, which is yikes. Anyways, I don't have a leg to stand on. If you are able to forgive, it's possible. And again, they're young. I think they're in their late 20s still. So they've been together for 7 or so years. So, I mean, in my experience with I've been off and on with my current for the same amount of time. They need to grow. And I think once they're able to grow and learn, it's very possible to come out of the other side and be happy and be faithful and be dedicated to the relationship. You need to go through the trials and the tribulations. I'm not saying you should go do that, but I'm just saying with it comes the trials and tribulations in its own way, and you're able to get through it and past it. So I'm not judging that they've stayed together because I've done it. I'm doing it. So I get it. But because I wasn't expecting it, he seems like such a nice guy. But then again, that's deceiving. So, moving on. Ruth is like, I feel happy that when Nola comes home. She says like she kind of like follows him around, kind of like a puppy. And he feels like he is in a happy home with her. So, back with Labo. She is really feeling it. And she says she misses Nola, which I don't want to be a bitch, but I want to be. He ain't missing her. He's not. I'm going to get to him when we get to him and get to the bullshit with him. But with Nola, he's very triggering for me because he reminds me of guys I've dated. I don't know where exactly in Africa they're from because I feel like not everyone is from South Africa. Maybe I'm wrong. But maybe, we could have people from other countries. But he just so much reminds me of an ex that I used to date who would be the flirt, who would charm his way through things, who would lie, who would manipulate, do all of those things. And she's falling into it. And I hate that for her. But don't you worry, guys, I know what happens. I'm just saying. I hate it for her. But anyways, she says she misses him. And she says if intimacy happens between them, she would be upset. And then I guess now Labo and Aiden are kind of deciding to creep around and kind of spy on everybody to have a little fun. But then Labo, so while they're going around to each home, they do land at Nola and Ruth. Aiden dips because he's like, ooh, we're having fun, yay, yee. But then turns around and realizes that Labo is still staring in the window, which is really, first of all, the decision making of doing this, not great. You shouldn't be creeping around and staring at people and staring into their homes. And I am not saying that what Labo did or roping Aiden in was in any way malicious. But y'all, can we agree she roped him in to doing this? And it's like, okay, you say, oh, let's go do this. And I feel like Aiden's like, ooh, I don't know, man. But then he agrees and they're doing it. Going around to like Lindale and Tabby and then going to Nakato or is it Nakato? I keep saying his name wrong. I think it's Nakato and Caesar. And they're like going around and then they land at Nola and Ruth. And that was her end goal the entire time. Her end goal was to end up at Nola and Ruth because she can't stand this. But the thing is, like, in Nola's defense, with this only, you issued the ultimatum. You had to know that he is going to form a connection with the person he's spending 3 weeks with. I'm not saying that connection should end up with his dick and her. Not a literal connection. I'm not saying that should have happened because I don't think we'll get to it. But it's like you knew that he's going to form some type of connection to her. And you want to get upset because he is. And that doesn't make any sense to me. But so yeah, she kind of is sitting around that. They're talking inside, Nola and Ruth. But then they're like, you hear that? They realize there's Ruth. Can you imagine? Can you imagine you're just in your home, minding your own damn business, And you're like, what's up? What's up? And I think what's basically was going on is the reason what they were hearing was Aiden going back saying, Ruth, we gotta, like, what are you doing? And she's saying, they're holding hands, they're holding hands. Oh my God, they're holding hands. And like freaking out. And they're hearing her freaking out about him holding Ruth's hand. Which, girl, you, with what they have done at this point, holding hands like shit. But yeah, she's freaking out. But like, can you just imagine that you look at your damn window and there's your ex-girlfriend is staring at you? That is some single white female type shit. I'm serious. What the fuck? There is a movie actually of black people with Taraji P. Henson. I can't remember who else is in it, but she's like the crazy ex-girlfriend type situation. And I was like, girl, like, not cool. Like, anyway, so yes, she's accusing him of holding her hand, and he denies it. Flat out in her face, denies that he was holding her hand. You must be crazy. I wasn't holding her hand. What are you talking about? And this is what I mean. Like, he is such a fucking manipulator. And this is why I say, like, he triggers me because I had an ex just like him. And African as well. Like, I'm not trying to whatever, but I think that's why the whole thing of it just triggers me. And he would do the same thing to me. My ex hit on a friend of mine. Like, I dated him in high school. I dated him, well, we'll say he was in my life physically in my life. We dated off and on, mainly off, let's be real. But he stuck around for a little bit until I met my ex-husband. But I dated him roughly from 17 till about the time I met my ex, which was, let's say, 20, 21, or 22. And I remember my friend calling me up saying, yeah, so and so was like hitting on me, whatever, because like because I was very open with my friends, or whatever. I trusted my friends for the most part, unless you prove otherwise. But I trusted my friends, and they were talking to him, this particular friend, and she tells me, yeah, he was hitting on me, saying all this stuff, and to the point where, because I confronted him, and he was like, no, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. And she's like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, he did. So she's like, okay, let's, back in the day, we're talking back in the day, everybody, you have three-way phone calls. So that's what she did, like a three-way phone call. And she calls him, and she's like, trying to bait him into flirting. And he did. And I said, motherfucker, I caught you. And to my face, in the way that Nola did to Lepo, is literally like, I wasn't hitting on her. What you mean? I just heard you. I just heard you. Your voice, I know your voice, I just heard you. Are you kidding? This is the same shit that he's doing. And it's just like, I'm sorry, but do men never grow up? I mean, I'll give that guy the benefit of the doubt. He was like 24, right? Nola's, I don't know how old Nola's supposed to be, but late 20s, early 30s, like, you're trying to tell me that they never fucking grow up? Okay, great. But it's just fucking ridiculous. But to her face, he says no. But then Ruth comes out and she's like, I know I saw you guys holding hands, but he's telling me you didn't. And Ruth, plain as fucking day, is like, yeah, he's holding my hand. It's just, so why is he lying to me? Here's why he's lying, because he has to self-preserve. This man literally says, I'm going to deny, and we're going to see it again. This is not the first time we're going to see him deny. And he says, deny, even though I saw with my own two fucking eyes that you did it. And then here comes Bruce thinking there's nothing wrong with me telling her the truth, and tells her the truth. And this is the thing, he's fucking with Lebo by not telling her the truth. Whether or not she should have been there is we've talked about it. But here, like, you're lying to her. And then you have Ruth on the other side who's like being used through this whole thing. It's bullshit. I hate him. I really don't like him. But no one does. But anyways, we'll see how that goes. And Lebo Nola, I think, goes after her. And I think everyone goes after them, like kind of going in that direction. And the one thing that I did say is like, okay, I know Lebo's upset about seeing this, but is no one talking about the fact that they were creeping on them? And Ruth does say it. She says, why were you even creeping and looking into our apartment? That's an invasion of privacy. It's like you're peeping. It's weird. But Aiden does admit, yeah, that was wrong. We're supposed to have like this fun thing, whatever, supposed to be completely innocent. I did not know she was going to do that. And I tried to get her to leave with me, but she wouldn't. So he admits, like, it was a bad idea. They shouldn't have done it. It wasn't meant to be malicious in any way. And on his part, I'm not too sure about Lebo. I don't know if malicious is the right word to use, but she definitely roped him in to her shenanigans. But Nola says, can we just trust this process? The process of which Lebo asks him to be a part of. And she agrees to, but it's like, he's playing you, and you don't even know. And that's what's sad. We here as the viewer is literally seeing how Nola is not only playing Lebo, but is playing Ruth. And it's just like, this is fucking ridiculous. Now, Ruth has her faculties about her. She made choices too, and we will tackle that. But it's just like, his reasons for doing what he does versus Ruth's reasons for doing what she does, it's like, I feel like Nola did it to say, because I can. And I feel like Ruth did it because, well, Isaac doesn't give a shit. And not saying either way is right, but I don't know, I just feel like Nola's reasons for doing things was just way more vindictive than Ruth. Only because I think there clearly is a pattern with him based on what Lebo has said before. This is not the first time. There's no way in fucking hell that this is the first time this guy has cheated on her. He's definitely cheated on her before. 1000%. If he hasn't cheated on her before, well, shit. I'm shocked. But there's no way in hell this man hasn't cheated. I'm sorry. No. Don't trust men. Anyways, force men cheat. Come on. Anyway, so we got Aiden, Genesis, and Kenya? Oh yeah, I guess it's Kenya. And I think it's Kenya. It can't be Kenya. Maybe it's Nakatu. Maybe Nakatu. So yeah, we got 3 of them. And not really much here really to say, except for Genesis says it's really tough with Courtney because she doesn't open up. So Nola is giving Ruth a massage. We see later. But she does tell Nola, I do think you're a crook. Interesting that she would say, I think you're a crook. But I believe she sleeps with him that night or sometime not long after this. And it's just like, you think he's a crook. Yeah, you're going to sleep with him. I'm sorry, but trust the gut. Your gut is telling you this man ain't trustworthy. She says, if it's not going to be me, it's going to be Labo. Well, duh. Duh. And I can tell you right now, it's even before we find out what happens here. Of course, it was never going to be Ruth. And I don't think it was ever going to be Nola for her either. They're using each other. Okay, so then Kenya. The fucking Kenya. I'm sorry. I can't stand her. I can't stand her at all. But let's continue. She sees Nakato with Caesar, and she says, isn't she too big for him to be carrying her? Bitch. Are you fucking kidding me? And this is not the first time that she is going to body shame her. It gets worse. Lindley is also seeing it too. And he's just freaking out. He's like, what the fuck? Clearly it's on purpose. And Tabby's like, they're doing what we're doing. Like, what's the issue here? Because they're both, the thing is it's not a surprise Kenya is spiraling. This is why she's acting the way she is. Not saying it's right to body shame other people, but she is spiraling. Linda Lay is also spiraling as well. But this is the process. Kenya, you issued. Linda Lay, you issued. So you had to know. I'm not saying like because you issued, you should expect it. But it's just like you should expect it. The difference between Kenya and Linda Lay is Kenya is not really flaunting what's going on between her and Isaac and everyone else's face in the same way. But Linda Lay is. So it's just like, really? Anyway, but she says, yeah, if they want to be outside, who cares? And she feels like this is Tappy, feels like he's being a hypocrite. And I agree. So Isaac is taking Kenya to meet his family. And he says, you know, I think he says like she makes him feel good or whatever. And the family has never met Ruth, if we remember this, never met Ruth. And only heard of her once. So they don't even know like how serious they really are. And the family, so they ask Kenya, like, can you cook? And she's like, I don't like to cook. And she doesn't like these questions at all. She doesn't like them. She thinks they're childish questions. They're fucking questions. They're going to ask the questions. Because unfortunately, again, you know, I think like South Africa can be very different than other countries, but not really. Okay. And I say this based on the fact that I am with a South African man who says, well, not a lot, you know, not much difference in other countries. And this is kind of the thing: is the woman takes care of the home, takes care of the kids, takes care of the husband. This is still those traditional gender roles, and so it's not surprising that they're going to ask you, "Can you cook?" Not saying it's right, not for me. Not saying that it's not that it's okay to ask these kinds of questions, but it's not surprising. And this is coming from a president who is not at all African, only, you know, dates one. But it's not surprising. And not only that, but when you watch 90 Day, and you have had many African people on the show, where we hear of the traditional gender roles. So I'm surprised that a person who is African is surprised by the questions. So anyway. She's like, I can cook, but I just don't like it. And Isaac is like, it's not an expectation as a woman, but he's like, I have to cook my food. And his cousin is like, she seems kind of more like an Instagram girl. She doesn't actually seem like an authentic person. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say an Instagram girl, because I actually don't get those vibes from her, but she's very I'm better than you. For sure. So Aiden is meeting Label's family. Sorry, meeting Label's friend Abigail, not her family. And her friend's like, where's Nola? Nola is too busy with his trial wife. Anyways, Aiden is like, I replaced him, but she asks like, okay, so what if the OG partners pick someone else? And Abigail says, do you think Nola is the one? Because they know it is what it is. And yeah, she does think that he is the one. I don't know why. But anyways, Kenya says marriage isn't important, but I do want kids. I don't want kids outside of marriage. Hold on to that. So what do you think is a good wife, Isaac? And he says, well, who he thinks is one that who cares for their husband, takes care of their wants or whatever. And she says, I shouldn't have to compromise on who I am, right? And I agree with her. I do agree with her. I think her approach is sometimes not great. But she feels, wanting to be taken care of or him wanting to be taken care of, that it's earned. It's not just something he says like that's turning him off, blah, blah, blah. Like you can tell like he is more of a traditional man who wants a woman to take care of him and wants a woman to want to do those things, but that's not Kenya. I don't think that's Ruth. Like that's the interesting part. And he asks her, like pretty much asks her, like, what do you bring to the table as a woman wanting to be married? Because I guess like what he's trying to say is, like, if you're like, okay, if you're going to potentially marry someone throughout a relationship, you're going to kind of realize, oh, this person can, take care of themselves. They work. So they have money coming in. They can cook. They can clean. They can do all those things. So those are kind of things that he's trying to figure out. So what do you bring to the table? Because right now he isn't seeing any of those things. He's seeing dishes are getting piled up in the sink. He's seeing that she's not cooking or anything. Like, what the fuck do you do to eat? Like, he's saying all those things, thinking all those things. So it's like, so what do you bring? And she says, I'm not to sound cliche, but I am the table. Now, that's some confidence. Okay. And I think it's a good fucking line. But when we're dealing with, again, traditional men, especially Isaac, like I don't think that's all of them. Isaac, you get the feel of he's a very traditional man, in a sense. I do think he's going to break out of that, but he's a very traditional man. And saying you're the damn table ain't going to work with him. That ain't going to work. He doesn't want you to be the table. He wants you to bring shit to the table. So he's like, really? He's like, that is a huge red flag. So anyway, we got all of the couples doing couples yoga or whatever. This is the first time that Courtney and Genesis are being at all physical with each other. They have not been at all physical. And Cisa is like, this is easy doing this. And Cisa tells Ruth she could see herself being or leaving Lindale for Nikatso. Nikatso. She could see herself doing it. And Cisa tells Ruth, you and Nola deserve to have each other. And Courtney tells Nikatso, you can't be Kenya's punching bag. Which it feels like she is doing that to him. And again, knowing what I know, watching the entire season, it's surprising to me that she isn't this way all the time. But that's what it feels like. And I think everyone else trying to pick up on it as well. And not only is she using him as a punching bag, but she's also using CSA's one as well. But she says, I don't think you guys suit each other. So, yeah. We got both Kenya and Isaac kind of arguing now, having a little bit of a fight about dishes. And Isaac says that he will use dishes, or so she will use dishes, but not clean them. So you're using dishes, whatever those dishes may be, and not cleaning up after yourself? Like, that's barbaric. But he says there are 4 plates, he says, in the sink. Who? He's like, how were you using 4 plates? It's just you before I came home. Where is your 4 plates? And he's saying, like, wash the fucking plates. Like, I shouldn't have to wash the plates. Wash up after you. Like, once in a while, whatever. But if he has to constantly do it because you're not, like, that's a fucking problem. And I hate this shit. She's the kind of person that says, but I didn't tell you to do it. I didn't tell you to do it. But you're not. So what are you gonna do? Leave them there till the next fucking day because it's nighttime now. Don't know exactly what time it is. You're lying in bed or some shit, and you're clearly not gonna get up and clean up after yourself at this point. Like, why couldn't you have just done it after eating? Like, yes, throughout the day while I'm working, I'm not necessarily cleaning up all the dishes. Now, if it's dishwasher and whatever, and dishwasher's as dirty stuff in it already, I will do my best to put the dishwasher stuff in there. And the big cleanup will happen after work, if I'm home. But otherwise, like on the weekend, as long as, my mom's not cooking or whatever, and we have a small kitchen, but I will clean up after myself. She will do the same so that the dishes aren't piling up. They do, yes, during the week because I'm working and I don't have time to unpack dishes and wash dishes while working. That's one thing. But they get done right after work, give or take. So it's like you can't, otherwise you're cleaning up after yourself as you do. Why can't you do that? Because clearly Isaac's the kind of person who does do that. And I'm with him. Why can't you do that? Anyway, she's like, I didn't tell you to do it. I didn't tell you to do it. She's like, it's not my problem that you're doing it. But it is your problem because you can't, you're living like an animal that you can't do yourself. You shouldn't have to. But Isaac is like, yeah, no, I do not need to be here. And he walks out the front door. And that is the end of episode 4. We're going to take a break here. And when we come back, we will jump in with episode 5. And I'm back. Let's jump in with episode 5 called, I believe, Revealed Revelation. So Isaac went over to Lindley and Tabby, and he talks to Lindley about what happened. And then Tabby comes by and she's like, what's going on? But then she leaves and she goes and talks to Kenya. And Kenya tells this story about being the only one buying groceries. It's just, or because she's getting upset because she's the only one going out there and buying groceries. Now, under the circumstances, maybe I can understand it. You should not be the only one buying groceries. But in a regular marriage type situation, it's not necessarily going to be both of you going together, going grocery shopping all the time, or you only paying for groceries and maybe not him, or maybe it's vice versa or whatever. That's normal. Like, if I'm going to go grocery shopping, honestly, seriously, I'm perfectly fine doing that on my own. Or, not necessarily have the expectation that my partner has to come with me every single time I go grocery shopping. Like, it's not necessary. Really, I'm a person who can do shit by themselves. Just put me in a grocery store, let me plug in, listen to Spotify or something, and go about my business. Perfectly fine with that. But so yeah, she's kind of complaining about that. Then the girls go over to the guys, and Isaac is like, we, so, I think he says, I don't know how, or he says, I don't know how to cook. Well, then that explains a lot. He says his mom will do it if she is around, and otherwise it's like you starve, apparently. Now that explains everything. Sir, learn how to fucking cook. You should learn how to fucking cook. Like, you can't be relying on mommy or your future wife to cook for you. Grow a fucking pair and cook your own goddamn food. I do have to agree with her on that. I'm not gonna be the person doing it for you because you don't fucking know how to cook. That's not my fucking problem. Who told you not to know how to cook? You know what I mean? But anyway, Nola and Ruth are meeting up with her family, and her brother asks, who would you prefer to spend, spend the day with between Nola and Isaac? And with a lot of avoidance, she does eventually say, or no, sorry, scratch that. It was Nola. They asked the question too. So would you, Nola, prefer to be with Lebo or Ruth? But yes, typical Nola fashion, he avoids, but then eventually says Ruth. I don't believe him. I don't believe he would want to spend the entire day with either Ruth or Lebo. I think he's the kind of person that goes with the flow, whatever's in front of me. If Ruth's in front of me, cool. If Lebo's in front of me, cool too. He doesn't care as long as something with a vagina is in front of him. I don't think he cares. Maybe I'm just being real hard on him, but like, I don't think he really cares who he spends his time with. Her sister doesn't trust it either, and we are the same. I am her and she is me because we are on the same wavelength. Don't trust it. Anyway, Genesis and Courtney go out, and 2 weeks into this, they finally decide, let's start actually dating when they only have like a week left. Ridiculous. Anyways, Tabby and Linda go to meet her people, and Tabby says that Genesis makes lots of excuses. He will say like financially, he needs to save up money, pay for it. I didn't catch the proper term, but we can gather as the bride price. So he needs to pay for that. And I mean, it depends on what they're asking for, right? But yeah, like he'll have to pay for that. He just doesn't save. She says like he could be saving up for everything that you need to save up for, but he's not doing that. So that's a bit of a problem. And Linda she says he's great, but her friend Jenny says, but you're in this bubble currently. You're in the bubble of the experiment. Of course, Linda is well, good. You don't know each other outside of this. You're putting your best foot forward. And again, that's something everyone does in relationships, where you put your best foot forward, you give it a couple of months, and then, maybe more like 3 to 6 before you start getting real comfortable with that person. And then you're like, I got you. Hook, line, and sinker. And you got the crazy out, right? And that's the thing, right? Like, you don't know him enough. It's only been 3 weeks. It's not enough time to really feel like you would give up what you've had for 7 years for something you've only established in 3 weeks. And her sister says, maybe Lentille came for this experiment with a different intention. After all, he is an actor, right? Maybe he came on the ultimatum to build up the brand. I mean, why else would anyone give an ultimatum after 6 months of dating? And I hear it. I actually understand why they said that. Because the thing is, it's like when you have people on the show, on this particular iteration, being together for 6 years, 7 years, 2 years even, and then you land with Linda Lay and Caesar, and he issues an ultimatum after 6 months. Are you kidding? I have been in a relationship for 7 years. Now, I'm coming from a perspective of a person who's been through a divorce, so I'm not necessarily in a rush. But it's like, I've been with him for 7 years, and there's no pressure whatsoever. I don't need to be married to somebody to still achieve the things in life I need to achieve, because I do have that thought of, it is just a fucking piece of paper. And once I'm fed up with you, or once things aren't working out to the point where I'm not able to fix those things, or we're not able to fix those things, it's another piece of paper that says I'm no longer legally with you. And it's so simple. It's so simple. It's not simple, but in the sense of, all I gotta do is give a lawyer some money, and then within a year and a half, it's done. If you don't have kids, you don't share any assets. But it's like, that's exactly it. It's nothing but a piece of paper. And why would this person, after 6 months, want to marry somebody? It's just, that's not enough time to know. For some, sure, maybe it is. But I'm just saying, in the reality of things, you don't know a person. I mean, 4 years into my relationship, I was learning new things. 7 years in, I'm learning new things. I don't know everything about him, nor does he know everything about me. And I think that's the fun of it. But that just goes to show, if I would have married him 6 months in, my God. Like, I don't get it. But anyways, to each their own, but I definitely understand what her sister is saying. Then we are with Nakato, and he wants Caesar to meet his mom. Now, his mom is, I believe, in Saudi Arabia, if I caught that from Kenya properly. So they're going to be video calling her. And his mom is like, Kenya's not going to change. I don't like her. I don't like her. I think, like, low key wants him to be with Caesar over Kenya, which I totally get. I wouldn't want to be with Kenya. I wouldn't want my child to be with a Kenya either, personally. Because clearly you're not treating my child right, you know what I mean? Like, anyways, yeah, she feels like she would never change. Mom was harsh. So then Isaac is meeting up with Lebo to basically say, I gone fucked up. I never should have rejected you. I picked this bitch. He doesn't call her a bitch. I'm doing that. I picked this bitch, and she's fucking crazy. And he doesn't any of those things. I'm not saying she's crazy, but she is so mean. And she don't cook for me. I should have picked you. I would have had a better experience. And maybe Labo would have had a better experience as well. But Labo ends up telling him, like, she's literally heard him alone be like, not trying to say I told you so, but I told you so. But she says to him, I was actually planning something for your birthday. Which he's like, are you fucking serious? He's like, listen, my own, like, Ruth on his birthday, in true Sophie and Rob style, we'll get to that a little later on when I cover that episode, literally didn't even text Isaac to say happy birthday. Didn't do shit. And it's like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm not saying that I do like a big thing for my boyfriend every year or whatever, anything, but I don't forget the day he was born, because thank God for the day that he was born, because I get to call him mine. How do you just not acknowledge that? You know what I mean? Again, I don't always do big things, but I always try to buy him a gift for his birthday or his past birthday. I did something just very small, got him a little gift, whatever. And I also just went and got like a cupcake for his birthday. I put a candle in it, lit it up, and just that one little thing, like he was very appreciative of it. And he's like, this is really nice. Like, how could you not? Like, just, I don't get it. But you can be mad at him. I totally understand that. But I'm still going to acknowledge the day you were born. Because if it weren't for that, like, it's nuts. But yeah, he's definitely feeling his decision of not picking her. So yeah, I think we got Nola. He's with Aiden and Lindley, and in front of, I think it was Isaac in front of Nola says, or maybe it was Nola said in front of him that he would pick Label, not Ruth. I'm so confused, but whatever. But it was, and he lies to them too about, oh no, I haven't kissed Ruth at all. Sir, you have stuck your whole part into her. And you're over here being like, I didn't kiss her. This fucking guy, he's even lying to the guys. Which I can maybe understand him maybe not coming out with it with Isaac because he needs to self-preserve. But it's just like, well, maybe with the guys too, because they probably will tell Isaac. But it's so weird to me. Anyway, Aiden goes back to Labo and he says something is up with Nola because no one is believing that nothing is happening. He says like he's avoiding. And Nola goes back to Ruth. And y'all, this is the same guy who 2 seconds ago was telling the guys, no, we haven't kissed. Nothing's happened. It's all good. And he goes back to Ruth and they fuck that night. I'm so baffled by this fucking guy. It's one thing if you want to say, listen, we all know intimacy doesn't just mean sex, but if you want to keep it somewhat truthful, but don't want to come all the way out with it, which is whatever, eventually it's going to come out. You're being filmed. There's literally a fucking camera facing your fucking bed, okay? But anyways, you could say there is a form of intimacy going on with us, blah, blah, blah. That is better than just completely saying, nah, we don't kiss. Are you fucking kidding me? Kissing is nothing compared to what the fuck y'all really doing. Like, it's just unreal. Unreal of this guy. Anyway. So we got boys and girls nights. So we're going to be kind of going back and forth between that. So Nola asks Aiden, did you bend my girl over? No, but you're sure as hell bending Isaac's. You know what I mean? It's gross because it's like you're baiting them to know what the fuck you're doing by asking questions like that. Yet, and you in the same breath say not a shit has happened when it's been happening. Sisa mentions that she met Nakatsu's mom, and of course Ken is like, how? Isn't she not in Saudi Arabia? Like, how the hell did you meet her? And she's like, oh, well, he video called her. And Ken is like, that's not meeting her. You didn't meet her. You didn't meet her over video camera. You didn't meet her. Bitch, she met her. She met her. She met her in a way that she couldn't meet her. It's because she didn't physically, it doesn't matter. You physically met his mom and she doesn't like your ass. You know what I mean? She met Cecil over video call. She's like, I like you better. You know what I mean? Full of shit. Anyway, Kenya says, well, I met Isaac's cousin. And Ruth, she's like, what the fuck? She's like, I've been with him they've been together 2 years. And she's like, I've never met him, met his family. And I don't even think they know about me, which is true. They don't know about her. They have not met her. Yet here comes Kenya, and in 2 tools they're meeting her. Now, are they meeting her because of the process? Or are they meeting her because he actually wants them to be her, which I don't think he does. But it's just like, if you could have this process and have them meet Kenya, Why couldn't you have done that with Ruth outside of this process? It's ridiculous. Anyway, Nola and Ruth are taking the stance of they haven't had sex. They're both telling their respective groups that no sex is happening. If you go to Nola, he's literally like, "Oh yeah, we don't kiss," which is total bullshit. And it's just interesting that they're both clearly have come together to say it this way. And Kenya ends up asking everybody, so has anyone gone all the way? Okay, so before we continue here, I'm sure we all can understand the definition of going all the way. It means, have y'all fucked each other yet, right? But my girl Caesar is like, what does all the way mean to you? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. All the way means all the way. And I agree with Kenya here too. She's like, all the way has one definition. And she's like, well, no, because it could mean different things for different people. No. That's, I know, like, when someone says, I've hooked up with somebody, that can potentially mean two different things. Now, I still think hooking up means you fucked. But for some people, you could say that hooking up could just mean making out. Whatever. But when you say to somebody, have you gone all the way? There is no, like, misunderstanding that. Have you fucked? It's real simple. But she's not sure about that, so yeah. But anyway, but Kenya says that her and Nikatu have not had sex in about a year. What? Oh, it's a long time. And then, for whatever reason, Caesar's shocked by this, which I think everybody would be shocked by this. A year is a long time when you're in a relationship. And yeah, they're kind of like, but all of a sudden, like, Kenna kind of goes off on her. And she's like, oh yeah, he's just using you for sex and this and that. It's like, he's not even trying to have sex with her at all. He has not attempted. The most that they've done is, I guess, kind of make out or whatever. He has not even attempted to have sex with her, nor has she attempted to have sex with him. But I feel like in Kenya's mind that he is having sex with her, or he is trying to have sex with her, which I just don't understand how you jump to that conclusion and why you jump to that conclusion. Has he given you a reason to jump to a conclusion like that? It's interesting to kind of see this spiral with her where she's just kind of like, he's just using you, but it's like, but nothing's going on between them. It's real interesting. But Tabby, she kind of says, yeah, not liking her vibe right now. And we're just like, or I think somewhere around the way, it's found out that Kenya and Isaac have actually, they haven't had sex, but they have seen each other naked. And Ruth's like, oh, I'd like to know that y'all are very comfortable with each other, that y'all can just be naked with each other. First of all, number one, Ruth, pot kettle. Are you kidding? Ma'am, not only have y'all seen each other naked, he has stuck his member into you. You have no leg to stand on. Number two, it's real interesting that she could sit here and be like, well, he's just using you, Caesar, when you're walking around naked around. No. Like, I'm sorry, but for me, it takes me having sex with somebody, being vulnerable in that way, to then feel comfortable to be vulnerable to have sex. So that can move differently in different ways, depending on who I'm with. It took me a minute to be comfortable like that with my boyfriend. With my ex, it took me nothing. I was comfortable right off the bat, which was very unusual for me at the time. But yeah, like, I would not feel comfortable with somebody just naked. Like, you know what? Kudos to her to feel that comfortable. fuck, kudos to him too, but like, kudos to her, Kenya, that she can feel that comfortable, because not all women can say that. So I'll give her that. But damn, you're just out here all willy-nilly, just boobs, ass, pussy out, and you're just good to go in front of this man who you just met. Like, incredible. Anyways, so yeah, Isaac asks Nakato, do you think Kenya is a gold digger? And I'm curious by this questioning because I didn't get the vibe that Kenya's really a gold digger. Kenya is, as we've been saying, opinionated, which is like another nice way of saying bitchy. But it's like, I could see her being very opinionated. I could see her being a little mean. Gold digger, I just didn't see where that was coming from at all. And he says, I didn't think she would be happy without money. Now, what does that mean? Now, are you saying that she wouldn't be happy with someone who doesn't have a job? Because neither would I. You need to, you get to a point in life where you need to feel like you have this financial security, whether within yourself and with your partner. So it's this like having financial security or some form of financial freedom, if not but both or the other or one or the other, but you feel like you can have that. Is that considered gold digging? You know what I mean? Here I am defending her, but it's just like, is that considered gold digging, or is it just, I just want to be with someone who's financially secure? Like, I don't see the issue there at all. But so throwing up the gold digger thing is just like weird. And we kind of start talking about Caesar's laugh with Nikatsu, and Tabby's actually the one who brings it up because she could hear them. And she's like, girl, what are you laughing about? And of course, Kenya is being Kenya. And with it kind of being like, I know his laugh. I know he's like fake laughing with you. Like, I hear that laugh. Like, this is fake. And it's just like, again, you're deflecting because you feel threatened by her, which I get that. But it's just like, that's not Caesar's fault. That's not even his fault. You brought us here. You know what I mean? But Ruth does say to Labo, I want to kind of have a one-on-one conversation with you without everybody else. And Nola does say the same thing, I think, with Isaac as well. But I think Isaac ends up telling Nola that I do have a friendship with Labo and I want to continue having that relationship with her. And funnily enough, interesting, Nola literally says, no, no. I don't like the idea of you having a friendship with my woman. Are you fucking kidding me? This is the same fucking guy who isn't owning up to his shit, but literally is fucking Isaac's woman, if you want to use those terms, which I don't really particularly like using those terms, but these are the terms they use. I'm not your property, whatever, right? But he's out here fucking Ruth. And that's okay. But Isaac can't have a friendship with Labo, a strictly platonic friendship. Sir, there's nothing for you to worry about because he literally rejected Labo at the choice. And you're out here being like, nope, nope, I don't want you being friends with Labo. You're fucking ridiculously dumb. Like, I would be ashamed to call him my boyfriend, honestly. Now, if there is a history there and he feels uncomfortable with said history, that can be discussed. But there is no history here. There's just the person who cares about her and wants to build upon that friendship with her, and vice versa. This puny, sad excuse of a man wants to be all up in his feelings because, God forbid, Lebo has a friendship with someone of the opposite sex. It's fucking ridiculous. And it's even worse when you add on to the fact that he's having sex with Ruth behind both Lebo and Isaac's back. It's fucking comical. But meanwhile, with the women, Ruth and Lebo are talking, like I had mentioned. They're alone. And Ruth tells her, listen, I want to tell you the truth. I think you deserve to know. And she's like, I know I'm not. I think she has to preface to her, like, I'm not telling you this to hurt you. I think, like, you really do need to know. And she says, listen, me and Nola have had sex not once, not twice, but thrice. That's about fucking right. Lebo, she's pissed. She leaves at this point. But she does thank her for telling her the truth. And that is the end of episode 5. Well, these episodes have been a little longer, or each show has been a little longer, but we're still going to do 3. So we're going to take a break here. And when we come back, we will finish up this episode with episode 6. All right, and I'm back. Let's finish up with the final episode for this episode, which is episode 6, called Broken Hearts, Broken Bands, I don't remember. Then over with Lebo, she goes straight to Nola's apartment. Ruth is not even there yet. And says, I think actually Ruth did show up. She did get there. But she went into the bathroom. And here comes Lebo. And she's like, so you had sex with her? And Ruth just come out of the bathroom. She's like, oh, fuck, you're here. And in front of Ruth, this fucking sad sack of a man literally says, no, I didn't. And then right in front of fucking Ruth says, why would you joke about that? This fucking guy is gaslighting fucking Ruth and Lebo at the same fucking time. That is a fucking art. This man is just like, I'm gonna deny. How do you fucking deny when A, you're being fucking filmed, my guy? We don't need to hear a whole lot. When we're literally seeing the bed sheets go up and down in the area where your ass is, sir. And I think anyone who has sex can put 2 and 2 together. That's shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's just ridiculous to me. That alone, we have the video fucking footage that you're fucking, okay? And then you have Ruth, who is, why would she lie? What benefit is it to her to lie about whether or not she's had sex with you? Because that is not only going to blow up your relationship with Lebo, but it could potentially blow up her relationship with Isaac. What benefit is it to her to lie about this? And you literally say, oh, why would you joke about that? You're fucking sad. Fuck you. This fucking guy. But yeah, so he says that. And she goes to her apartment where Aiden is. And Aiden has no fucking clue what's going on, okay? But she's pissed. She's fuming. And he's following her. Nola's following her. And he tries to kind of rope Aiden in. Because he's like, Aiden, and didn't I say, like, nothing happened today? How can you go to a person who's not in your fucking apartment at night and ask him to corroborate your fucking story? But Aiden kind of doesn't. Aiden literally looks at him and shakes his head like he's shaking his. It is very telling because he shakes his head but says, "I don't fucking know, guy." But honestly, how I interpreted that shake of the head is no, you're not being fucking truthful. Because in the end of the moment, not only did you have fucking Lindley say, this guy's bullshitting, you also had Aiden say, there's no fucking way. And you literally had Aiden earlier in episode 4, I think, where he says something ain't right with Nola. He's hiding something. So no one's gonna fucking agree with you or corroborate your fucking bullshit ass story because no one believes that nothing is happening. I can believe that with Genesis and Courtney, nothing is happening. I can believe that with Leo and Aiden, nothing is happening. But when you have Lindley, Tabby, shit's happening. Nikatsu and Caesar, shit's happening. Fuck, even Kenya and Isaac were making out with each other. Shit is happening. So you want us to believe that nothing is happening, not even a little bit? Fuck, spoiler alert, Genesis does eventually kiss Courtney. Shit's happening. So it's just like, no, I don't fucking buy it. No one buys it. I just leave Aiden alone. Leave sweet baby Aiden alone. He's like, nah, that's we're shit. But she's upset that Caesar, she's upset to the point where Caesar and the cats were just in their apartment minding their own business. And I'm like, what the fuck? And Aiden tells him, leave her alone for right now. Let her process what's going on. She's upset, clearly. Leave her be. But he's not gonna do that. So I can't remember who it is, but someone goes back to Ruth. And so it was Nola. He goes back to Ruth and he literally says to her, we agreed that they couldn't find out like this. Find out which, okay. Let's play a game here, everybody. Or let's state the fucking obvious, better yet. If they were to find out in this way, you going to them and saying, by the way, we need to be a little truthful here about what happened. In which way would you have done it? When would you have done it? Because I feel like any other way would have been wrong. Finding out like the tell-all would have been wrong, or the reunion would have been wrong. Finding out while watching the episodes would have been wrong. Which other way would you have told them? Because if it wasn't going to be in this way, which way? When he said that, I'm like, then in what way were you going to tell them? Because any way you flip this would have been the wrong way. I'm so confused by him. But yeah, he says, yeah, they weren't supposed to find out this way. Fucking asshole. And sorry, guys, lost my spot. Then Nola, after I think being prompted, or maybe he said it himself, well, then if you're going to tell Lebo, I'm going to tell Isaac. But weirdly, Ruth is like, no, don't call him. Why? If Lebo has now the privilege of knowing what the fuck happened, why can't Isaac know? Is it that Ruth knows enough to know not to tell him in this way? Or what? I'm just curious. I just want to know why can't Isaac be roped into this? But he says come to the villa, and he can hear like Ruth in the background being like, no, don't come. And he's like, what the fuck is happening? But he says, no, I'm coming. So he's on the way. And once he gets there, he just blurts out, not even a thought in his fucking mind, and says, yeah, so me and Ruth had sex. And Lebo, because let's remember, up until this fucking point, Nola has been denying that they've had sex. And basically gaslighting Ruth into saying, no, we didn't. The fuck are you talking about? But now that Isaac has entered the chat, he's like, oh yeah, so me and Ruth had sex. And Lebo's like, oh, so now you're going to tell the truth. Now you're going to own up to the fact that you've had sex with her, even though up until this fucking point you've been lying. You're a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. And Isaac, clearly not happy. And he says, I fucking knew it. Everyone fucking knew it. Because I didn't mention this part either. I'm going to mention it now. With the guys' night out, when they were having this conversation, the two of them, they were at the bar. They had actually just walked away from the group. It wasn't like it was the end of the night or something. They walked away from the group, went to the bar, had this conversation. And when they were having the conversation, it was kind of brought up in terms of intimacy. And of course, Nola denied. And Isaac in the moment literally said, like, I don't buy it. I don't feel like he's being truthful. But whatever Nola said to him convinced him to believe or just choose to believe what he was being told. But he says, like, I knew it. Yeah. And Nola is like, why is everyone coming at me about it? Now, I'll give him this. It wasn't just Nola who had sex. It takes two. I mean, you could debate that, but it takes two to have sex. Penetrating type sex, usually. And in this case, it's Nola and Ruth. So they've both made a decision to have sex with each other. So I do hear Nola being like, it's not just on me. She also did it too. Which is sure. But Isaac is obviously going to be clearly upset with Ruth because Ruth has the obligation to be truthful, loyal to him. Nola can't do that for him. But Nola, you lied straight to Isaac's fucking face. That's the problem. And then with Layla, same thing. She's not going to be mad at Ruth because, I mean, I would partially be mad at Ruth, honestly, if I was her, because we knew we came in here to do. We will talk more about this though, as more in the reunion, we'll get kind of a little bit more of an answer as to why Ruth did this, and I will talk about it then. But it's like, she's not going to be mad at Ruth. She says anyways. So she's not going to be mad at Ruth because Ruth doesn't have the loyalty to her. Nola does. Nola has the loyalty to Lebo. And not only that, but Nola has been lying to her. No, I didn't have sex with her. No, I didn't hold her hand. No, I didn't do this. No, I didn't do that. And it's not only about Ruth, but this predates this experiment that he does this to her. No, I didn't do this. No, I didn't do that. I call everybody sweetheart. Whatever the fuck. Like, it's just, that's where the anger comes from. But everyone else is going to be pissed off with you, Nola, because you lied about it. Whereas Ruth isn't lying. She's owning up. She's like, yeah, I fucked him. And, like, that's what and I have to give her props for the and. Like, who gives a shit? Of course I did. Like, who cares? Like, I'll give her that. But that's not even he's doing that. Yeah, I fucked her, and what? He's constantly in this state of, I gotta self-preserve. And if you have to constantly be in that state, then stop fucking cheating. But it's men do it all the fucking time until they finally get caught. And I'll tell a little story. I'll tell a little story. I'll talk about my ex, actually. I'll use that as an example. I'm not going to use my current relationship as an example, but because the difference with him is he would own up to it for the most part. But with my ex, I knew he was cheating on me. Knew. 100%. Knew he was cheating. Knew something was up. Didn't have the fucking proof. And I was the kind of person, don't fuck with me. I'm going to find out who you are cheating on me with. And I found a girl. I'll call her Amy. Found a girl and said, yeah, he's definitely fucking Amy. But when I confronted him eventually, when I did eventually find out about the cheating, I didn't have to do much. Let me tell you, because she called him while at my house. But anyway, when I found out about the cheating, I said, is it Amy? He's like, no, well, you say Becky. It's Becky. Becky's the one I'm cheating with. Okay, cool. I found out it's Becky. I move on with my life. But once Becky came into my life, because Becky got pregnant, if you want to know more, you could head over to our Next Day podcast where I talk about that during our mental health episode. Becky got pregnant, and Becky told me that he did cheat on her too. Technically, meaning he cheated on me with 2 different people. So I'm like, oh, Becky, is that true? She's like, yeah. And Becky Becky tells me that the girl he cheated on her with, also me, was bisexual. Now, I'm going to tell you a little something about Amy, is Amy was a bisexual woman. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Took that information, went back to my ex and said, do you know a person by the name of Amy? She gave me her real name. And he's like, how did you know? And that's how I knew. Because I said, I confronted your ass about her and you lied to me straight in my face. You could have just owned up at that point and you chose not to. Because he has to constantly self-preserve. And that's only the tip of the iceberg of the bullshit that I was told. And he would always self-preserve until I would find out the truth. And he's like, okay, yeah, it's ridiculous and it's tiresome. It is so fucking tiring. And this is the shit that Lebo's been going through with him. Probably the duration of the relationship. It's fucking exhausting. But we'll get to more about them later on. But yeah, now he's kind of running away like a little bitch from everybody. And Isaac is like ready to fight. Because he's like going after him, or both him and Lebo are going after him. I think Ruth is kind of tagging along here too. He's just running away like a little bitch, this fucking guy. And like I said, like Isaac is ready to fight. And he is getting up in Nola's face to the point where security has to get involved. But understandably, Isaac is pissed. And Isaac says, you better sleep with one eye open. And Nola's like, okay, if you're gonna fucking threaten me, you might as well just do it the fuck now. He's like, yeah, okay, well then come over here. He is ready to go. But of course, that doesn't happen. And security jumps in and is like, nope, I'm not doing this. It's too late for this shit. I'm not breaking up a fight. Meanwhile, maybe Ruth wasn't there, but Ruth is throwing out Nola's shit. And she's done with him. And he comes and gets his stuff and he's like, wasn't quite expecting my trial relationship to end like this. Well, anyways. Sisa and Nakatu, she says, well, your ex told me that you're just using me and that I am easy. She did say that. I forgot to mention that. And he's like, I don't know why the fuck she would say that. He's like, you know what? Let's go talk to Kenya. What? He literally suggests, let's go talk to her and figure this out. Now, I do want everyone to hold on to this until we get to the reunion, because I think we're going to kind of get an answer as to why shit played out the way that it did. But I won't be talking about it until we get to the reunion. So, yeah, he's like, yeah, let's go talk to her. And they both go to talk to her. And Ken is like, what the fuck, you're all here kind of situation. She's like, I didn't invite you. I didn't invite you over here. And Caesar sits down in front of Kenya, and Kenya's like, I didn't tell you to sit. What the fuck are you sitting for? Then doesn't Nakatu just dip? He just dips and leaves her there. And she's like, why are you leaving? Like, why the fuck did he leave? I thought when he said, let's go there and talk to her, that he was going to stick around and talk to her as well. Nope, he just dipped. Are you fucking dumb? But I think we get a little bit of an explanation as to, or a little bit of understanding as to why he did, or why he maybe better yet felt comfortable to do so. But yeah, so yeah, he just dips. But then Kenya I'm sorry, but I was fucking livid. So excuse me with my choice words that I might use about her because it was just fucking disgusting. Kenya tells Caesar, basically she's fat shaming her and says to her, I didn't tell you to sit your fat ass on my chair. Get your fat ass off my chair. And all of this, like, this is what she's saying to her. Get your fat ass off my patio. Like, this is the shit she's saying to her. I'm not kidding you. I would have loved nothing more if I could have pulled her ass out of my TV the way you could pull the fucking ring girl out of the TV and punch the shit out of her. I'm saying I am Queen Latifah and she's that other bitch in Scary Movie 3. I would have beat the fucking living shit out of her. I was so pissed for Caesar in that moment because the other thing too that Caesar says to everybody in the girls' night is she's like, my laugh, I understand can be annoying, but I'm not always laughing because I'm happy or whatever. I'm also doing that because sometimes I am nervous. It's a nervous reaction, which lends me to believe it's some sort of trauma response as well. Maybe not. And it doesn't have to be anything like serious, but this could be her way of coping. And while Kenya is saying all this shit to her, getting up in her face, telling her to leave, I just want to cry for Caesar. She just starts laughing because she's clearly terrified. She's clearly feeling really lost right now. And you can tell she's looking over her shoulder, hoping that he's still there to help her through this, to protect her from his crazy ex. And he's nowhere to be found. I felt so horrible for her. And again, I don't want to make excuses for Kenya. I can read between the lines and realize that she's reacting in the way that she is because she feels threatened by Caesar. Because if it wasn't Caesar, it was going to be somebody else who she was going to act like this with. And I understand that. But in no fucking way do you body shame another woman in the way that she did. Is sick. And I mean, a lot of shit. You don't have to be a bigger woman to be body shamed. People can body shame you, Kenya, for being too skinny or having no boobs. Yeah, no boobs. She does now. We'll talk about it. But it's just like, people can say shit about you too. But instead of that, lead with kindness. You issued the ultimatum to him, not the other way around. So you don't have the right to be upset. It's, I mean, this is a conspiracy theory. But I do wonder if she is acting this way. Maybe this is the type of woman he would usually go for. Maybe he typically didn't go for women who look like Kenya. Maybe he was more attracted to chunkier girls. Like she's not at all overweight. She's chunky. She got meat on her. Men will love that shit. Are you kidding? Maybe this is what he was more attracted to. Who knows? And maybe this comes from something, or maybe I'm giving her too much fucking credit, and it's just her own insecurities. I don't know. But while we're having meltdowns with fucking Nola, Ruth, Isaac, and Lebo, we're about to have another meltdown with Caesar. And she goes back to him and she gets upset with him because she's like, you left me there. Why did you leave me there? He's like, you know how she is and you left me there. I'm going to say this now. And I'm only going to say this one quick line because I don't want to go too far ahead and talk about the other episodes. He didn't. He didn't know that this was how she was going to be. And he will say as much later on. he did not, he's never seen a side like this before from her. So I do fully think he believed that she was going to be okay. That she wasn't going to be treated in a way that was hurtful. I do think that. I still don't agree with him leaving her, but I don't think he thought like she was going to tear her a new one. But then he goes back to Kenya to confront her because like Caesar's freaking out. She's crying. She's bawling. And he goes back to Kenya and he's like, what the fuck? Like, what did you say to her? What did you do? Like, what the hell? But she's acting the exact same way and says, get the fuck off my porch. Like, going at him, blah, blah, blah. Like, get the fuck off my porch. I didn't ask you to be here. I didn't invite you, blah, blah, blah. Like, she's just going off. She keeps saying, like, you're disrespectful to me. You're letting her come over here to disrespect me. It's really fucking funny when someone says, you're disrespecting me, or you're having her come over here and disrespect me, when you're being the most disrespectful person in the equation. Ain't that some shit? And he does leave, and Isaac comes back after his drama with Nola and Ruth, and he doesn't actually say anything. Like, he's just like, ugh. Like, he's spent emotionally, but he doesn't tell her about what happened. But Kenan does ask him what happened. You left, like, what happened? And he doesn't actually say anything. Right? But Kenya, because let me do the proper timeline here. Before Caesar and Nakatsu showed up, Isaac does come back. And that's when she says what happened. But while he's doing his own thing, that is when they showed up. And he was there the entire time for the most part. And he literally says, like, when he sees how she treated Caesar, he literally says that is not how you treat people. What the fuck is wrong with you? Who the fuck raised you type situation. So let's fuck off now with what he's going through. He just found out that his girlfriend's been cheating on him throughout this process. And like physically, sexually. And let's fuck off at that though. Because we gotta talk about how Kenya is being disrespected. To the point where it's 4:00 in the fucking morning and my girl is like, can you believe that he would have her come over here and disrespect me? Can you fucking believe it? Are you awake? Wake the fuck up and listen to, I need advice. What the fuck, right? And he's like, I don't want to fucking sleep. He's like, I've had a long fucking day. Just found out my girlfriend's fucking Nola behind my back. I just want to fucking sleep. I want to sleep, but no. We gotta talk about Kenny and her issues at 4:00 in the fucking morning. This poor guy can't catch a fucking break. Anyway, so Nola says, this the next day, says that he has no regrets sleeping with Ruth. Good to fucking know. But he feels really bad. He feels really bad for Lebo. But he is choosing to bow out. And Lebo is also choosing to bow out, obviously. And she says, this is it. Like, she's done. Like, she's done with him. She's not going to go back to him. It's over. We'll see. Isaac goes and talks to Aiden and tells him about what happened. And he says, like, I don't want to go right back to her. Like, he doesn't. They're about to do the change really soon. Their trial marriages are ending soon. And he's supposed to be going back to Ruth. And he's like, I don't want to. Like, and I don't blame him for feeling that way. Anyway. Nakatsu surprises Caesar with dinner on their patio. And who comes out, like, you literally see there's not a lot of focus on it. It's really fucking quick. But behind his head, don't we see fucking Kenya and Isaac coming onto the patio, and she clocks it, but then that's it. We don't see anything again after that. There's no, snide remarks from her or anything. It's that, and that's it. Linda Lay says that he is in love with Tabby again. God. But now it's a changeover. And oh no, no one actually knew that Labo and Nola actually left. Like, no one knew. Which is, I think, obviously, like, Aiden knew, Ruth knew in the sense that knew enough to know, like, her trial marriage was over. But I don't even know if she knew fully. But I think really Aiden was one of probably the only people. Maybe also Isaac were the only ones that knew for that. They're good. So, what has the last 3 weeks kind of been like for everybody? And Linda Lay says that maybe I am not really ready for marriage after all. And Caesar's like, the fuck you say? You brought me here and all of a sudden you don't want to get married? It's just, love when that shit happens. Kenya believes that she taught Isaac something. And he's like, the fuck you say? The fuck you teach me? He did. She did teach him a thing or two because, again, spoiler alert, he does learn how to cook at some point, so he learns some. But he does kind of say that, or he wonders like if things would have been better with Labo if he picked her after all, because, Kenna was not exactly the way he thought it would go. But she doesn't care. She doesn't care what anyone thinks. She says, I wouldn't want to be with anyone like him. Cool. She's like, I just didn't want to invest in him, and maybe that's, like, I can kind of understand her a little bit here. She says, I just didn't want to invest in him, so maybe with that being said was the reason I kind of distanced myself from him, because she just didn't want to invest in that, which I think it had a lot more to do with his more traditional ideas of what he kind of expects, even though he says, like, I don't expect those things, but he kind of does. Ruth says, I have to expect less from him. Kind of going in like she doesn't have any really high expectations with Isaac. She said he hasn't shown up before, so why would I expect him to show up now? And she's kind of, in his views, making excuses for her actions. And he's like, I'm not going to take it. And I hear him, because I don't know if necessarily she's making excuses, but I think it's more she's being very truthful and very honest with the reasons for why she did what she did with Nola, and that is bothering him. And I get it. But any last words before we do the change back? And Kenya says, I don't want to do this with him. I can't stand him. And she means Nakato. She can't stand him. And we're going to see how that's going to turn out in the next episode. But that is it for episode 6, and that is it for our episode. So yeah, this episode was a little longer than expected. I have kind of a lot to say, but I think the next episodes are going to be a lot shorter. Well, yeah, they're going to be a little shorter, 7, 8, 9, just because not as much. But yeah, you'll be getting that soon enough. But with that said, that is it for our episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps, every one of them, including, you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website. where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityt2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube, and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.